welcome to this episode of The Good, the Bad and the Odd with your host, Mark and Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hello there.
So we're slowly crawling our way towards the end of the Hammer things. And I think we're on film 40-odd, something like that.
Yeah.
Let me just check that. But
It's
we
feeling like that.
Yeah, it's. You haven't found it as much fun as, say, the Universal, have you? I don't think it's fair to say.
No.
There's been some high points, but there's been a lot of
A lot of just kind of
on.
drudgery. It's
A lot of what?
drudgery. Like it's just not that entertaining sometimes.
It's not that. Yeah, I think I've got a lot of nostalgia goggles on with Hammer. But having said that, I do quite like it. Yeah, so this will be film 42 of our Hammer series, right? And the last one was, in fact, the prequel to the one before this, Dracula AD 72. So this is the Satanic Rites of Dracula. All right, high level view. What was your general thoughts? How do you feel about it?
This was a very dry film. Like, not much happened. It was a lot of, 50-something men stood in rooms talking about things happening.
Yeah, like old white guys in power, yeah. The patriarchy, basically. Yeah, but the thing I found about it was, I much prefer AD 72, I have to say, because that feels way more like a Dracula story. This, to me, feels like a subpar crime TV show.
Yeah.
Honestly, the first half hour, you wouldn't even know it was Dracula. The music is crime music, not very good, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's vaguely shafty.
It's like funky horns and all this kind of stuff. No Dracula, and
no. Dracula doesn't even appear in person until it's past the halfway point.
No, and the only bit it really started picking up was, I think, about 26 minutes in, Van Helsing appears, and then we finally get something that's a bit interesting, but it's kind of a subpar crime thriller up to that point. It starts. Let's start going through some of the plot, really.
Yeah.
Because there is some interesting stuff in this. There's stuff I like, but honestly, I didn't enjoy this watch as I have done in the past. I just found it a bit. Oh man, this is really not as good as I remember it, and I didn't think it was that good anyway, frankly. But but anyway, basically, we see a bloke sort of tied up and managed to escape from this country house. And meanwhile, there's a satanic ritual going on in the basement or something. So essentially, we've got these burly stuntmen dressed up as like hippies, right? And that was ridiculous, right? Because every one of the henchmen was dressed up as a hippie, but he was about 35, 40. Did you feel that? It looked silly, really. And they were wearing those fluffy...
It was the constant sunglasses and big moustaches.
Yeah, and there was a few porn-tashes in this, wasn't there? And curly hair and stuff like that. Essentially, he gets out of this house and he's making this escape, but I was a little confused. There was a bit where they were chasing him down on a bike and someone was shooting with silencers, the bike men, so he could get away. But he's in a bad way anyway, so he's about to die.
Yeah.
But
it's so bad that he's able to make it all the way to
the British
Service building, collapse, and then die shortly thereafter.
But reveals that possibly government ministers are doing it. Then it becomes a bit... Honestly, I couldn't work out what they were going for. It was a kind of weird sub-James Bondy.
Yeah, Dracula's plan is to poison the world.
Kill the world, so he doesn't have to carry on or something, even though he never says that. Van Helsing implies it. But there's also occultism quite heavily involved. There's an occult group, and one of the group is like a leading Nobel Prize-winning bacteriologist, as well as a cabinet minister. There's all these, a general, and it's led by this Chinese woman called Qin Yang, who leads the black mass rituals
and sacrifices, it's a bit mental.
It is
but
mental.
Ultimately, it reaches a point where they because a few of the people are their bosses. Like,
so they have to bring in someone else.
With that guy's word, all of our pensions just disappear.
Yeah, so they basically call in someone from Scotland Yard Special Branch, which is Inspector Murray, I believe, who was in the first in Dracula AD 72. He was on the case, sort of trying to figure out the murders, right? So there's a familiar face. So he also says, "I know an expert in the occult." Yeah. Obviously, we go to Van Helsing.
It's Lorimer Van Helsing.
Yeah, and Peter Cushing here, who is still giving it his all, but is a bit less energetic than we're used to him. He is getting old. And I think this was around the time his wife died, and he probably was eating a lot less than he did before. So he was kind of skinny and frail. However, he's still giving it his all, talking about the evil of blood cults and things like that. And then he mentions Dracula, and we see that he's still got that awesome picture of Dracula in his house.
Yeah. That's a bit mental.
Yeah. It's a good picture, though, right? It's a good picture. So happy. Yeah. That was the bit I first actually thought, here we go. When I saw that picture. Now, his granddaughter's in this, and she's like an expert.
She's also like an ass-kicking vampire hunter now. But she's now played by Joanna Lumley. Which feels more,
apparently Stephanie Beacham, they felt looked a bit too young. They wanted the role to appear sort of more mature, so it would suit her character. Joanna Lumley's a good fit in this. It kind of works for me.
It's a shame that they just kind of keep trapping it. They basically make her Daphne from Scooby-Doo after her first scene.
Well, there's a bit of she knows what she's talking about, and she's quite assertive.
But she just gets ignored and then captured. So
that's true. It's kind of good to see, though. I mean, this is only a few years before she became Purdy in the New Avengers, which is what she got famous from, Okay. She was one of, remember how famous, well, maybe you don't actually, the Rachel cut was when some female has a specific haircut and she becomes like the focus of the world's media. That becomes their haircut. And the Purdy haircut was that in the 70s. And there was a Rachel haircut in the 90s and so on, Whenever there's a striking hair. It doesn't happen very often, but Purdy was a big deal. The haircut was a big deal when she did it. And it's a striking look for her. And of course she had the beehive in Ab Fab as well, but that wasn't culturally the same significance, but anyway, she's good in this. She's quite good. But meanwhile, so what happens then?
Basically, the cult keeps kind of cutting off their avenues of investigation.
Yeah, they've got a secretary, haven't they?
They chase down the secretary on motorbikes, so she drives into what is very clearly a dead end from like a mile away, and stops, and they just like break all the windows and drag her out.
And when she wakes up, she's chained to a bed, and Dracula comes in and puts the bite on her. He comes in with like steam under the door, and when he opens the door, there's a massive bright light behind him. It looks really goofy for Dracula, honestly. But Chris Lee's in it, and that's okay. Anyway, the probably one of the most interesting vampire. There's a few interesting things they introduce in this in terms of vampires. They have all the female vampires in the basement, basically, all chained up.
Yeah.
Which is weird, right? Now, I think you know what? That's an image from another film that came out just before this, I believe. Or maybe it's just a bit of parallel, doing the same thing. There's a modern-day vampire story called Count Yorga Vampire. In fact, now I think of it, I think that film inspired them to make Dracula AD 72, to bring Dracula up to date. Because they saw, there's a vampire up to date, let's do so. And I think they were ripping off Count Yorga Vampire, which maybe we'll watch sometime just so you can get a comparison. It's an American film. It's quite good. And there's some really creepy moments in it. But the women in the basement chained up was straight out of Count Yorga. And probably the only creepy bit in the film, frankly. Yeah. Except maybe the right at the end. And it was kind of creepy. That was the only bit where I thought, okay, we're getting into something interesting now. Because all the spy, espionage, black, satanic cult stuff was a bit boring, frankly.
Because again, they don't really. It's not actiony like the original Peter Cushing Dracula films that he was in, and it's not intellectual like some other like horror movies. It's just kind of them. Well, it's following like a very obvious breadcrumb trail. to various places.
It is a B grade, not even B grade sort of crime thriller, really, at the moment. Other than it's got Van Helsing in, Peter Cushing in. Anyway, Van Helsing reckons he could go talk to one of the bacteriologists to try and figure out what's going on.
Yeah, because they know each other.
Yeah, and basically they've made like a super variant of the bubonic plague. That's what he's managed to do. And it isn't about curing it, he's just made this deadly plague that will kill most of the people in the world.
He's made it by irradiating the Black Plague.
Yeah, and basically one of the hippie henchman guys bursts in and appears to shoot Van Helsing. I didn't quite understand that, because was it a glancing blow or what? And then when Van Helsing wakes up, Keeley is hanging. He's hung himself, or he's hanging. So is that supposed to mean a suicide? But obviously it isn't, because henchmen burst in just before it happened. And also the bacillus. The strain has disappeared.
Yeah, the fucking super plague.
Yeah, and then they talk about the 23rd. I think it's the 23rd of November. Yeah. Now this appears to be in early autumn, doesn't it? But they're talking about the 23rd of November, which I guess is late.
They didn't say the 23rd. They just said they didn't say 23rd of November. They just said the 23rd.
Oh, because I was thinking what. Because he was going about, this is the Sabbath of the Undead. Never heard of it. He does reference Walpurgis and Halloween, but never heard of the Sabbath for the Undead. Anyway, they just made that up.
Bad horror movie sequels always try to expand on something like this. Yeah. Don't know if you've ever seen the Howling sequel, but they bring up Transylvanian werewolves, which can only be got with titanium instead of silver.
Ah, great. Yeah,
just that seems to happen a lot.
Yeah, there's always some. Well, if you think about the
upgrade, it's like, it's not Walpurgisnacht, it's Super Walpurgisnacht.
Yeah, there's always something like that. And if you think about, I don't know, Tremors, there's some weird development in the biology of the worms with each sequel, right, and things like that. Yeah. Anyway, Van Helsing is perfectly all right from his being shot, or whatever it was. Gunshot wound,
clearly,
and they talk about it, but they also someone's figured out that there's some big property developer called D.D. Denham, and Van Helsing says, "I'll go see him." Also, Jessica's piping in here with her thoughts, which I thought was quite good. But
and they keep brushing her off. Like, I'll just sit in the car, and if we don't out in like a couple of hours, just like go get help, I guess, and try and keep quiet. She's the expert. You got her in for expert advice.
Yeah, it's mental. Also, they've got photos of all these guys, and they say there's 5 involved, but the 5th picture's just an empty. There's no one there, and it's like, the cat. It must have took the picture at the wrong time or something, or the frame. I don't know. But Van Helsing's obviously thinking maybe it's a vampire, right? Yeah. Anyway, he also starts talking about how to kill vampires, and he brings in some interesting lore that we've never seen before in Hammer. He talks about silver being deadly to vampires, which is a thing, but Hammer's never used it to this point, as far as I remember. But they also talk about hawthorn bushes, which were used to make the crown of Jesus. The crown of thorns, hawthorn. So those are also anathema to vampires too, or can damage them. Which obviously does come in a bit later. But it's kind of interesting they introduced 2 new laws. I also had to really laugh about their overuse of running water a bit later on. It was like chuckles. Because they did it with Johnny Alucard in the shower as a one-off, and okay, fine. But, man.
See, there's that bit I know you're talking about, I think inspired in a scene in the movie Hocus Pocus. Where someone tries that and it doesn't work.
Okay, fine. Yeah. So Van Helsing goes to visit Denham's headquarters. Now, there's a bit in Wikipedia that I didn't pick up. and I can't remember if it's mentioned in the film, but in Wikipedia it says the headquarters are built on the churchyard where Dracula died in the previous film. I did not.
Yeah, they did mention that,
okay.
But they didn't. They did. Okay, so they mentioned that a tower block had been built on top of the church, and that it was made by Denham. But they never said that they were going to that tower block because they say he owns a lot of property.
Okay.
Like they go on and on about how rich he is.
Right, so this can't have been like the year after, because that doesn't make sense. You wouldn't do a massive tablet in a year, would you? And have all of this, of this conspiracy built up, right?
So it's from what I gather, it's supposed to be 2 years after, because like Van Helsing mentions that it was 2 years ago he fought Dracula.
Oh, okay.
But still, that's like you can't build the tower block in 2 years. Less than that, assuming that there was a period after. Unless, like, Dracula revived immediately.
Yeah. I mean, we're picking holes, but it's just stupid, isn't it? It could have been anywhere, and it didn't have to be. And they don't say it explicitly in the film, I don't think. It's the same block. But anyway, it's he then gets escorted up, and he kind of gets interviewed with lights on him by Denham. But we can see it's Christopher Lee. You
can see it's Christopher Lee. And he's also doing a Romanian accent at this point.
Yeah, which is interesting.
He's doing the Dracula voice.
And he's starting to say things like, "You shouldn't cross me, Professor Van Helsing," and all this. He's doing like Blofeld.
Like, a little occultism.
It doesn't work. It's so stupid. And at one point, Van Helsing's like, "I presume you're not. Now I know too much. You're not going to let me out the block." And he pretends to light. Well, he lights a cigarette, but he knocks books off the top of the desk, and he conceals a little box with them, which I can't remember what's in the box, or if they even say.
Like reflects the sunlight at him, but.
No! Before that, he puts the box down, and when Dracula reaches for the papers and touches the box, it burns his hand. So I assume it's got a holy relic in or something. Then he goes, it's you, Dracula.
Like 10 minutes melting down a silver cross.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then he goes, "It's you, Dracula. I have you now." And he pulls out the tiniest gun I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's one of those little, like, it looks like a flintlock, but it's
which explains something, because the bullet he made was tiny, right? He made a tiny little bullet. Oh, wow, what's going to find? And he pulls out the tiniest little gun, and Dracula's like, again, full James Bond mode. "You can't kill me with a bullet, you fool," all this. And he goes, "I can with a silver bullet." And Dracula's like,
But Van Helsing does the typical James Bond villain thing of he starts monologuing, and the rest of the conspirators show up.
Yeah,
like they stop him.
Yeah. So so they throw him off and like knock him to one side. The bullet goes astray, so that's it. He's done with that. And then it kind of descends into madness. The henchmen start taking.
Sequence.
Firstly, a sniper with the silencers. The henchmen, the burly. Hippies who are about 35. They take out the Secret Service guys with just shoot them dead with their silenced sniper rifles, and then they start chasing Jessica. Is it Murray? I can never remember.
Yeah, Murray's the inspector.
And Jessica's and they're saying they're playing with us. Let's keep moving. Anyway, I can't remember the sequence of events, but they get caught. Murray wakes up in the dungeon
in the dungeon where the brides are being kept. I guess they're functionally the brides of Dracula.
And
but
though we do hold on, we see an earlier scene with the Secret Service try and they see their secretary and they go to rescue her, but she's a vampire. She tries, and there's all this kind of stuff before they get shot up. But anyway, Murray wakes up in there, and all these vampire women are sort of chasing him. He manages to fend them off. He happens to find a little wooden stake and a hammer in the basement, which is handy.
Well, no, he finds one hammer that has a sharpened end and
is that what
uses
it is?
a second hammer to hammer it into the
and then he uses bits of wood to make a makeshift crucifix, which keeps the lady vampires away.
Yeah.
And then he manages to get it, and he hits the sprinkler system, and then we get this mental image of all these women screaming in the sprinkler system, and they're using, I don't know, some sort of primitive effects to sort of change the look of it, so like it's going from
wasn't good.
Positive. No, it wasn't. Yeah, interesting idea, but it was goofy. Yeah.
So Jessica is being taken and put on the Dark Altar, basically.
Yeah, because Dracula, when they want to kill Van Helsing, he goes, "No, that's too good for Van Helsing and his granddaughter," and all this. And then they have a kind of another satanic thing, and Dracula announces these 4 men of the 4 horsemen, including Van Helsing. Apparently, he's going to give them all the plague. Now they didn't realise that
anyone else about this. No, they didn't realise that Dracula may be tricking them by getting them to make a super irradiated version of the plague.
Did they think it was about blackmail?
They thought it was gonna. Yeah, they were gonna use it as leverage to blackmail everywhere.
Which again, this is going full. But I mean, that's what Blofeld is going full James Bond art, because in the early ones, Blofeld was using things to blackmail the world, but in later James Bonds, they were just mental villains that weren't Blofeld, that wanted to destroy the world for really unclear reasons. So it's gone full man. And he goes on about being the 4 horsemen, but basically Dracula has them all under hypnosis, doesn't he? And he orders one of them to break the vial, which then immediately infects everyone. And they die in the room,
they
so
all
that
start
is the
falling
worst idea.
upon each other. It's like when you get a superpowered disease in Plague Inc. really early on, and it just kills the first person.
Yeah.
And doesn't spread.
Luckily, Van Helsing somehow doesn't get it, so that's okay.
Yeah, he just kind of jumps backwards once they break the vial.
Yeah, and then Murray
doesn't get any super plague on him. Murray gets Jessica out of there.
Yeah, but he also smashes up some computer room, which starts a massive fire. So there's basically the house explodes, right?
That's the gist of it. But then Dracula's chasing Van Helsing around in the woods, and very conveniently they end up in a hawthorn bush.
So and Dracula, even though he's getting torn up by it, doesn't care, just pushes through this hawthorn bush. He
doesn't go round it or anything.
No,
he's just
he can literally just yeah, and it doesn't look. It looks like it isn't that bad, but as soon as he gets to the other end, it's kind of aged and grey and worn out.
Van Helsing just walks over to a nearby shoddy fence, grabs one of the posts, and stakes him with it.
Yeah, and the film ends.
Yeah.
Okay.
Picks up Dracula's ring, blows the dust off of it, and that's that.
Yeah. This, I don't know, man. This might be the worst of the Dracula films we've seen. I didn't like Scars that much, but I don't know. Would you put this? I mean, we haven't watched all the Draculas. We've still got one more, believe it or not. But this is the last time we have Christopher Lee as Dracula, because another actor plays Dracula. It's not our last Van Helsing film, though. I'm glad to say, and Van Helsing plays a much more active role in the next one. I'm glad to say. So, where would you put it? I mean, what do you think? There's a worse one we've seen so far, or do you think?
No, I don't think there's a worse one we've seen so far.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad one.
This is bad. Other ones were probably story-wise worse, but this was the most boring.
Yeah, it really took half an hour to get even started, didn't it? With all the music and all these guys in rooms talking about, there's ministers looking at pictures and, man, okay. Interesting to see, we haven't mentioned this, but Freddie Jones is Dr. Keeley. Freddie Jones, who played Fiu Howard in June.
Okay.
And he's been in loads of stuff.
The only other film I've seen him in. So.
Okay, he has been in lots of films, and he's always good. But I just thought... No, he was also in one of the earlier Frankenstein films, so we have seen him before.
Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed.
Okay. So we have seen him before in some Hammer. But he was... he was decent in this, but I just felt... This wasn't the usual Hammer fare at all. The screenplay was not written by anyone who's done any Hammer. They're directed by no one we've seen. The music was not by anyone we've seen. I'm just trying to say who produced it. It doesn't actually say. I think this was like a B unit thing or something. So a very odd film. Didn't make that much money. Didn't make much money either.
Yeah, it didn't. Well, according to this, and both in the way it looks, it didn't cost much money either. So,
yeah, I can believe that. There was a lot of using interiors, wasn't there? And they obviously had some run of some stately home, and they kept reusing it. And skidding cars and stuff like that. The exploding house was quite impressive.
Yeah,
I assume it was a model, but it didn't look like a model. That was all right. But it just felt all a bit tired. Apparently, they wanted to call it something even goofier. Let me have a look. They wanted to call it Dracula is Dead and Well and Living in London, right? Christopher Lee did his nut when he heard that. He says, I'm doing this under protest. I think the title's fatuous. I can think of 20 adjectives. Fatuous, pointless, absurd. It's not a comedy, but it's got a comic title. I don't see the point. He really didn't like it. But, he was never that big on the Hammer Dracula films, was he? So,
like, that title sounds very similar to the Dracula Dead and Loving It.
It does sound a bit, it does. And apparently someone else released it, a US version, heavily edited. I don't know. What bits?
What was cut out?
And that was cool. Get this as a title: Count Dracula and His Vampire Bride. What are they talking about? That wasn't in the film at all.
Jessica, maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, it was. It wasn't a very interesting film. It was a weird. They were just trying stuff, and this was a miss, I would say. It's probably what happened here. It just wasn't very good. Got any final thoughts before we wrap up on this one?
No, just don't watch it. It's not fun.
Watch it if you're a completist, but don't go in with a super low. The only two bits that stood out for me really were the basement full of vampire women stuff. I thought that was kind of cool. And actually, I quite like the end fight. I know it looked like, why would Dracula just walk through all that stuff? But he, but I actually thought the end where he was looked kind of aged by the process, and then Van Helsing staking him was kind of cool, actually. Though low energy compared to any other confront. I mean, even the pre-credit sequence in Dracula AD was way more exciting than this, right? In terms of Van Helsing and Dracula fighting. But yeah, all right then. A miss from Hammer here, I think. Do you want to rate it?
Do we even need to? It's just don't watch it. This is sitting either -1 or 1. It's just boring.
Yeah, and no, it doesn't really. I mean, we don't even see how he gets resurrected. They don't hit him or anything.
They don't even address it at all.
Presumably, they were digging up the site and someone cut their hand or something. I don't know, whatever. That's usually a fun part of each Dracula film, but no, we don't even get that. We get wah, 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 and weird hippie guys, old blokes as hippies and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, okay. All right, let's wind up there. So, bye from me.
Bye.